this will be, there we go. This will serve as our um, training for this as someone starts to come in with us. P5 sessions, right? Work with the sessions. What are they? So this is for us to gather together and practice the power of five together and move our business forward in real time. This session will mostly be comprised of quiet working time where you are welcome to ask questions in the chat, though primarily we work silently, request feedback on anything really, content, conversations, thoughts that you're having, activations, any of the sessions itself. Here's how they will run. Will be 60 minutes, okay? And we will always begin with orientation. And this is where we're going to return to who we are being and what it is that we are creating. So everyone take a moment, and I'm going to pull up to actually show you this. You should have received this in an email as well, but let me share my screen. Can everybody see that okay? Yeah. So hopefully you have it in an email as well. Um, but we'll start and guys, let's just talk, right? So we're gonna start each time with this orientation. Who am I being? Revisiting your being blueprint, looking at your personal vision, what your values are, who your ideal client is. And you might think of things like, who am I choosing to be today as a creator? What am I actually creating through this business? Orientation is something that we're going to practice continuously. We've been practicing that continuously, and your being leads that, and your action follows. So that is the very first thing that we do. And you can see from the graphic, here's in terms of what we're going to be doing together. We're going to start each of these sessions, generally speaking, today's a little bit of instruction around this, with a 15-minute segment for orientation, for you to look at and or create each Monday your hot 20 list or your dream 20 list or whatever it is that you want to call it, right? And remember, these are people that will benefit from your product, your opportunity, your community, not just a list of people who have to say yes, right? It's simply where we begin conversations and connections. We can add names each week, move names each week. Here's what we don't want this to be. We're not micromanaging you guys right during this time. So this will be a 15-minute block at the beginning of each session. We're going to set the timer when we start these. And during that time, read your being blueprint, get your lists ready. Also, set your rhythm or your good, better, best goals for the week at that time. All right. And guys, if it doesn't take the full 15 minutes, right, and you're ready to move on to the active elements of the P5, by all means, do that, right? It's not about necessarily micromanaging you. It's just us coming together, as a community, as a co-creating community to practice in real time together. Okay. So that'll be the first 15 minutes of each session. And then at that mark, and we will set a timer each time, again, not to micromanage you, but to give you the space if you need it to do those things. Maybe you come prepared, and you jump right into the active elements. Totally up to you. All right. But at the 15-minute mark, that timer will expire, and then we will move into the active sessions of the P5. So Tammy, you want to pick up a little bit there and
Yep, absolutely. So during this next portion, we're going to step into and give you time for each of the elements. So starting with conversations, we talked about in our business blueprint training, this is our opportunity to first ask for attention. So that's going to come through most content. There are other ways, but primarily through your content. So this is an opportunity to think about creating content and also just asking for attention through our DMs. and maybe comments to people who's responding on our content, or just making that list or those first connections. And, there's not one right way to do this. Christy and I were chatting earlier. One of the primary ways that I have done this in the past is just simply the acknowledge. So, however, I'm connecting with them. So, was it through a post? Or maybe I've been trying to be more intentional myself to spend a little bit of time just engaging in content. So, looking at other people, what they have going on in their life. So, maybe I'm just connecting. An example would be I connected with somebody who's going through some struggles with an adult child. So, that's where the connection came from. So, that first one, acknowledging, and then compliment or conversation is kind of in my mind. So the conversation started with that, but then the last piece of that is ask. And I just shared, I've been really intentional in doing some different type of work that's really helped me in my adult relationship with my adult children. And then I asked, would you be open to jump on a 15-minute call? So that just, moves into P3. But Christy, maybe share, she had a great example in a coaching session with Teresa of a little bit different way to do this or approach this, and which I loved.
Yeah. Well, and it's the idea of essentially, I think, in a conversation, like the idea of conversation, right? I think it has three parts. You have to ask for visibility, you have to ask for attention, right? However it is that you're doing that, as Tammy mentioned, through content or through vendor events or networking or however it is that you're doing that. Then you move into the connection phase, which is where you acknowledge, compliment, and or be a little bit direct, a little bit more direct. Authentic communication is direct. So Teresa and I were talking about reaching out to someone and just asking the question. Um, for example, hey Teresa, we've been communicating for a couple of weeks now or a couple of months now. Do you have clarity around how it is I support women in their health journey? Right, simple question. Maybe it's the first time you connect with someone and you reach out and say something like, hey, I'm reaching out for a very specific reason. And before we get to that, I'd love to get to know you a little bit better. There's no one right way to do this. However, if you'll go back to the training, which, the business blueprint training talks through all of these pieces, the idea is ask for attention, connect with someone, discover if they have a problem that you can help support them for conversations specifically. Um, and then moving into, I wanted to mention this to you guys with the good, better, best. Ideally, you want to set good, better, best goals with how many conversations you're having each week. So it might look like, a good goal would be would be 3 conversations a week. A better goal would be 5. Best goal would be 10 to have conversations, right? In a week, maybe it's more than that. It's totally up to you. But I think in that first segment, you would set those goals for those. Then we move into P3, which is the invitation part. And you can see it kind of ends like in Tammy's example, acknowledge, compliment, ask if you're open to jumping on a call with her. That gets into the invitation space, right? So each one of these will be 10-minute blocks in the Power of 5 sessions, right? So remember, we have 15 minutes for the orientation, the leads list, good, better, best goals, 10 minutes for P2. Then we're going to do 10 minutes for P3, which that happens when alignment appears. You get to invite them to a call, invite them to try a product, invite them to a group, invite them to a workshop, right? Anything like that, you're just inviting to continue the conversation. We'll do that for 10 minutes, right? You also want to set good, better, best goals for invitations. Ideally, I made this list for myself this week, right? If I did 3 conversations, 5 conversations, or 10 conversations, maybe with invitations, I do 1 invitation, 3 invitations, or 5 invitations, right? So just setting those actual benchmarks or goals that you have. After that 10 minutes, we're moving into P4, which is activation, right? These are the active elements. So once alignment has appeared, you want to allow people to experience the work right? So this is where you actually do send the resource. This is where you do share your product. This is where you invite them to a Zoom or they actually come to a Zoom and you have questions for them after that. Um, or book a call for them, right? And there was very specific language in our training that could help you do that. Tammy has a belief bridge. The same for invitation as well. There's very specific language that you could utilize there. Tammy, you want to go kind of through that, or you want to just refer them to the
Yeah.
business training for that time?
Yeah, just really quickly, the idea of the belief bridge, and again, we're not saying there's one way, it's just something that I've found to be very helpful. And it it doesn't matter what kind of business that you have. It's around the three things of the connection of having you as a guide, or if you're a coach. So it's agreements. So based on what you've shared, would it be helpful if I were to individualize, something for you as your coach or as your guide? The second one was community. So the idea of around connecting through community and success in that. And then the third one was really just education or tools to empower them, whether it's showing them how to use something, or maybe it's if you're health and wellness, it's continuing education. So it's really this
I think I have
idea
it
of,
connected. I think I have it set up.
oh, it's
Yeah.
really around this idea of creating this belief bridge around more than just a product. Does that make sense? There's lots and lots of products out there, and everybody, has their version, but it really, to me, it's like what sets you apart? It's you, the community that you're forming, and then how you're continuing. It's not just buy my product, goodbye, but it's how you're continuing to educate or help them through that. So that is the
Yeah,
belief
that's
bridge.
that third block of 10 minutes. And then we move into P5, which is so can continue to support those that say yes. And I would say here that both yes and no are successful
Mhm.
outcomes, right, for you to continue to create with, right? So if it's a yes, then that's when your customer onboarding begins. That's when your consultant onboarding begins, which we have not done a creation room training on that, but that is coming for you guys. So also if it's no or not right now, or you don't hear anything back, this is where you start the follow-up process, right? So it might look like, okay, I'm not hearing anything back to them, so I'm going to go back to conversation with them, right? Continuing the conversation to determine, you know, another resource that I might be able to add value for them with to continue to walk through that journey to actually get to create with someone. Also, this is where client care, and when I say client, that is both your clients and your consultants, right? Because you want to be talking and creating with those that have said yes to you, right? It's not like we go through all of this right here, and as soon as they say yes, hands off, right? We're creating with those people. So this is it. At that point, we'll be at a 55-minute mark in our Zoom, in our P5 sessions. And that timer will go off, and then we'll do 5 minutes of celebrations and wins and debriefings. And that's what a P5 session will look like. So we're at 10:15. I think we did a good job of timing that, Tammy. We're going to open up for questions just for those of you that are on right now. If you have any questions, if you have them, someone else is probably going to have them as well. And like I said, this and or we're going to do this again tomorrow with Tammy's. Pick the one that fleshes out it and does the best job as our training for P5. And then with the time that we have remaining, we're actually going to work together. But do you have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to stop share. Um,
And you know what? Really quickly, in that P5 creation, if you are part of our community and you're a coach, that could look like returning messages. It could be client follow-up. So if your business looks a little bit different because you're a coaching business, it can be that intentional time that you set aside. And part of this is to model that even if it's not in community with us, that this is something that you can incorporate and do every single day yourself. That's part of what we're trying to model here for you as far as running your business, being intentional. These are the things that you're going to want to continue to do on a daily basis, or however many days that you decide to set a per week. So
yeah. And that's a good one other good point that I made note of to share. Again, we're not telling you, we're not micromanaging you. All right. So it very well may look like one day you do P2, one day you do P3, one day you do P4, one day you do P5, right? Does that make sense? Where you're doing conversations one day, then you're doing invitations another day. You guys, do your business how test things, try things, find out what works best for you. Um, Generally speaking, these are the elements that a sustainable, successful business has, right? And for me, I think that orientation is the piece that I have seen missed quite a bit in, daily methods of operation. So, we're just here to do this alongside you because this is what Tammy and I do real time, right? We actually do these things real time. So, questions, comments? Clarifications?
I think they're ready to work, Christy.
All right. Ready to work? All right, let's do it. We're at 18, so I'm just gonna let's do let's look. We've got 40 minutes left, right? So work on I'm gonna put 10-minute segments um, on the clock, and you work ideally, I'm going to say this, it's been abundant for me. So I'm going to be working on my lists, my hot 20 lists, my right personally, right, and setting some good, better, best goals for myself. But pick up wherever you need to pick up, ideally P2, wherever, especially for those of your one-to-one clients, we did like, where's your primary growth zone, right? And this might be something as you're watching here too. Look at where you are in business right now. What are you really strong in the P5, right? Which are you really strong in? Especially active elements. Are you strong in conversation? And then maybe not so. And which one do you have opportunity for growth the most in? So what I've seen is conversations they may be real strong in, but they're not really strong in invitations, right? So think about that a little bit too when you're making your good, better, best goals for yourself. Kind of get out of your comfort zone just a little bit. But I'm going to set that timer. Tammy, you can play some music. We'll do 10-minute rounds, work on in this, whatever you need to work on. And then tomorrow we're going to do this one more time. And then we'll start actually next week with real. When we come together, we won't do it explaining. It'll just be 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and 5 minutes to share.